Hafide, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with the Candidates. I'm Philly Yonguro from News Talk K57, and we are broadcasting from Italiano at the Leo Palace Resort. I'm here with first-time senatorial candidate and former radio personality Louise Munia. Hafide.
Hafide, Phil. How are you? Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I had to share the spread with somebody.
I know, that looks delicious.
Delicious appetizers.
Can we eat it?
Courtesy of Chef Chris. Maybe we should have a little bit of a chat first.
Okay.
We can sip our coffee and then try the sausage and the calamari a little later.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so like with any great conversation, you ready to break the ice?
I think so.
Okay, because campaigns can be a little serious, so let's...
I think the icebreaker questions would make me more nervous than the real questions.
Well, let's see.
Okay.
No pressure.
Okay.
But, so... Hulu, Netflix, which one are you using more often?
I don't, excuse me, I don't watch TV very often.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of time to do it. But if I do watch TV, it's probably The Walking Dead. I know it's...
The Walking Dead?
Yeah, my son and I are very big fans of the show, and we find conversations in it. So
are you up to date?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Very up to date.
What's the
Who do I think is the one who died?
Yeah, what's the worst death you're like hit your heart the most?
I'm hoping at the very last episode, I'm hoping it wasn't Glenn that went.
Okay.
But that's their cliffhanger. They're really good at that. They're really good at that.
Walking Dead. I don't know how I'm going to transition to ice cream. But that's my second icebreaker question.
Okay.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, hopscotch. Do they still make that?
I hope so.
They have so many
Hopscotch
different
would be
flavors
great.
now. I mean, it's so the way they mix everything is so intricate now. I like simple.
Okay.
Vanilla chocolate, hopscotch.
Okay.
It's my favorite.
This might be a little difficult because everyone knows you as a musician.
Okay.
But if you were to pick a favorite song of all time,
One song.
to rule them all.
Wow. I believe the children are the future. Is that cheesy?
No.
Greatest love of all?
You're never gonna have me object to Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, you know, George Benson was the first one to write that song.
I did not know that.
George Benson.
Okay.
But if I had to choose a specific genre, I mean, I think it would be anything happy, you know, because if I'm sad, I want to hear happy songs. I always said music is the director of people's emotions. So if I'm sad and I want to feel happy, I have to listen to happy songs.
As long as it's uplifting.
So long as it's uplifting.
Okay. Now, again, loaded question.
Okay.
Because we on Guam love food.
Right. Okay.
Favorite food?
Cheese, probably.
Okay.
That's my guilty pleasure, cheese. But of course, I'm trying to eat healthier. You know, I'm trying to inspire people to eat healthier. So I can have a loaded salad if that. You know, I could get dangerous with a salad.
Cheese included.
With cheese.
Okay.
Lots of it.
And when you're not trying to clean up the island through IBTF or running for senator, how do you spend your free time?
My free time, well, I like watching movies. I like going to the theater and just kind of breaking away from reality. You know, it's just you and that big screen. But I also like running. I'm a cycling instructor already, a group exercise instructor, but I really do like running because for some reason it helps me clear my mind, and then they call it a runner's high. I don't know if you've ever felt that before.
Yeah, that's when you're about to pass out and the
Well,
adrenaline kicks
sort
in.
of like that, but no, it gives you it's like endorphins. It's created. It makes you feel very happy after you're done doing some type of extreme exercise. It doesn't have to be like we're about ready to pass out, but at least you know that rush feeling. The blood is flowing through your entire body.
Now, running, do you consider that a hobby or a leisure activity?
I don't know. I guess it would fall under the same thing. Hobbies.
Okay.
Running, yeah.
So let's say you want to relax and, you know, have a leisurely afternoon. What are you going to do?
I would go to the movies.
Really?
I really would.
Okay.
I love going to, sometimes just spur of the moment.
3D?
I think I'm going to go to a movie. No, only some movies are worth 3D.
I can't do it because the glasses, you know, glasses on glasses give me a headache.
Yeah, it's not that fun.
Okay, you ready to get serious?
I think so.
Okay, because we broke the ice, right?
That's what I said last year when I left radio. I think I'm ready to get serious, you know, because radio's always been a job that I always loved, right? So I'm ready.
Okay, so you're even getting more serious, trying to go through this campaign. So when you're decided to take that leap and step up, why did you say yes to the question, do you want to run for senator?
As a working mom, you know, I've seen it, and I've seen the struggles every day of working families, and I felt like it was time for me to step up to the plate and be that voice and the advocate for the working families for the legislature. I feel like I've lived the life that they lived, and if there's anybody else who can represent them, it would be me.
Okay. Legislature, lawmaking body. What is it about what you bring to the table that you think will help you craft good public policy?
You mean as far as like experience?
Yeah, experience, education, your perspective.
Well, I believe, again, as a working family, of raising 2 kids as a single mom, and as a matter of fact, my daughter just graduated from college, and that's not an easy feat to begin with. So I think that's part of my whole educational, or my whole experience in life. Really, that would probably be my biggest asset, is the fact that I've lived through all the struggles, and I was tired of complaining on the sidelines, you know. I said, okay, I'm going to bring it to the table this time and be a part of that lawmaking body.
With that perspective of raising kids as a single parent, I'm sure there are specific issues that you faced that you would like to address in the legislature. What would some of those be?
Well, I'm noticing now, and even so before that, my mom was diagnosed with cervical cancer. And I'm noticing that a lot more people are perishing from this dreadful disease. More so now. As a matter of fact, every day somebody hears those dreadful words, you know, you have cancer. And so I think what I'd like to bring to the table is the opportunity to prevent these issues health-wise. So I'd like to bring healthcare to the table, and more education towards healthcare, and how we can let the people be a little bit more aware of their surroundings.
Okay. So let me put a scenario out there.
Okay.
The people willing,
Okay.
you get elected to the legislature. It is the very first session, your first opportunity to introduce a meaningful piece of legislation. What's it going to be?
And again, this is through my experience. Excuse me, my mom was diagnosed with cervical cancer. One of the reasons why older women get cervical cancer could be because they have the HPV. That's they call it the human papilloma virus. If young girls, before they become sexually active, have this vaccine, 93% of chances of them not getting cervical cancer, that we could save 93% of women getting cervical cancer if we allow that. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce legislation to at least make it more affordable or accessible to families, you know, who are willing to help and just remove that cancer. It would be so great if we could just do that. Prevention is the key.
Okay, so more access.
More access, more affordable. If we can introduce legislation to make it more affordable for families to have access to this.
So I know we've been talking about the nitty-gritty specifics, but if we can sort of zoom out for a little bit,
Okay.
broad strokes, goals that you want to accomplish in a term of office?
A term of office. I'd like to, and I would like to be the advocate for families who are afflicted with cancer. Now, I know it seems still like I'm still keeping it general in cancer, but again, that's a very big thing in Guam right now. There's a lot of people with cancer. My time with Sorensen, just having simple conversations with cancer survivors and warriors, and my story, that really made me very more in touch with what people are struggling with on a daily basis. So I'd like to help the families that are there. I mean, in a more broader aspect of it, I really would like to be that advocate for those families that are struggling with cancer.
Okay, you're familiar with radio, so we're up against the clock.
Yes.
So let's go. I don't want to call it the lightning round,
Okay.
but maybe
Okay.
a little quickly, because I want to make sure that you get the opportunity to address all these issues.
Okay.
For or against raising the minimum wage?
I'm always for people making more money. But again, I'd like to wait and see, and this study with the Department of Labor, you know, and see how that economic study is going to affect Guam.
Okay.
You know, before but if obviously I would like more people to make more money.
For or against medicinal marijuana?
Well, the people voted yes, so there's really not much we can do about medicinal marijuana. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get it in the hands of the people that need it a lot sooner, that's for sure.
What about for or against decriminalizing marijuana? Similar to what they're doing in Colorado.
Yeah, I think if we get past the first hurdle, which is putting the medicinal marijuana in the hands of the people that really need it, then we can start discussing that. There are 4 states that already make it legal, recreational marijuana in the United States. And I think maybe we could study that and emulate, see what it's doing with their economy. Then we can consider that.
We recently celebrated the first anniversary of marriage equality. Let's say there's a same-sex couple that would like to take their vows. Would you preside over their wedding?
I am, traditionally, I would like to see more people married in church. But I have a gay nephew, and if he asked me to marry him, and I love him, I would say yes.
Okay.
I would definitely do it.
And let's say to wrap up, why should the people of Guam vote for you this November?
Well, working families, they really need a voice in the legislature. They really do. And I feel like if people are comfortable and satisfied with the way the legislature is working now, then they don't need to vote for me. But if they're ready for a new change, a new perspective, a new feeling in the legislature, and they want somebody to represent them as a working family, then I think they should vote for me, the working mom.
My former coworker, Luis Borja Muña, is asking for your vote. And remember that we have more candidates coming in the following weeks and another candidate coming up after this break. Yes. Welcome back to Coffee with the Candidates. I'm Philly Ongaro from News Talk K57. We're broadcasting from Italiano at the Leo Palace Resort, and I'm here with senatorial candidate Will Castro. Half a day, Will.
Half a day. Thanks for having me.
I had to invite someone to help share the spread.
I think we're a little thin there. We might need a couple more pizzas if it's just the two of us.
I think they heard we're bulking up, and that's why they brought the carbs.
Bodybuilding.
Yeah, exactly.
It's right here. One big body.
So before we get into the serious things, you mind if we break the ice?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so are you a Netflix or a Hulu guy?
Netflix.
Okay, and if we were to open your queue up, what would we find?
PG stuff.
Okay.
No, I have Daredevil because my son and I, he's really into that genre, right, of entertainment, and so I watch Netflix with him because it's a form of quality time. You know, he expects me to remember what just happened, so that's one of them. And then I used to watch old episodes of The West Wing.
Yeah.
And then I think there's another one called at one time Madame's Secretary, I think, but I just haven't caught up lately. So if I ever squeeze TV time in, it's going to be with my boy, and it's probably watching Daredevil.
Anything with Vincent D'Onofrio, I'm down for.
Was that his name?
Who plays Kingpin?
Okay.
That guy.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Brilliant actor.
Ice cream. Everyone loves it.
Yeah.
What's your top flavor?
Well, I'm not much of a sweet guy, but vanilla. I think vanilla is good. It goes almost with everything. So it's not too bold, and it's not too bland. I think it has a nice, soft... It's soft on my palate. So
okay.
If I had to have ice cream, I'd get vanilla. Plus, it goes great with the banana fritters over at Proa Restaurant, right?
Yeah,
remember
it does.
that? Yeah.
Okay, now, you already mentioned trying to find a good meal, but, at the end of the day, you want to relax.
Sure.
How does Will Castro unwind?
Well, I could appreciate a good glass of scotch. Usually a cold beer at the end of a long weekend, but if I had the ideal situation to sit back on my lawn chair and just reflect, looking on the yard, it'll be with a glass of Johnny Walker Blue. Neat, no ice.
Okay.
Just straight up like that and take my time with it.
Nice. Well, Scotch, you got to take the time.
All right.
Okay, now let's get into the serious stuff.
Sure.
You ready? You answered the call to serve, obviously, as a candidate for the legislature. Why did you decide to run again?
Oh, a couple of things. First of all, I'm extremely passionate about this island. It might sound a little cliche, but I love this island. We all had opportunities to live abroad, and I chose to come back and stay. And I think by running for an elected position, you have the continued opportunity to make changes in a much bigger way. I think it allows me to exponentially build upon those things I started in my career, either as a government official or in the private sector. So being an elected official in the Guam legislature allows me to work across agencies and government branches and not be restricted. So it really would be kind of as a scaling up the work that I'm doing.
You alluded to the fact that you left Island and returned home.
Sure.
What is it in your past experiences, either your education or your personal experience, that you think would help create good legislation as a senator?
Yeah, it's hard to admit, but you don't know what you don't know. And so by moving abroad, even just traveling, even if it's for leisure, seeing different things in different municipalities, looking at different peoples who have different value systems, looking at the innovations in technology or the different things they do to solve this particular problem. Sometimes those things aren't captured in a textbook or in a video documentary of some sort, and just maybe being there allows you to say, wow, could this possibly work here on an island like ours? And maybe it couldn't, but the whole point would be, exposing yourself to whether it's new information or experiences and being able to translate that and breaking away from what you're used to doing on a day-to-day basis and saying, let's try this, let's give it a shot. And so I think that's the value of folks who have the privilege, not everyone can get off island, to go abroad, even if it's to Saipan. You'd be amazed, I think, looking at what that community is addressing in terms of whether it's economic sustainability or healthcare or education. Many things are like Guam, but many things are not. And so that's the value of being able to look at things from a different perspective, in my humble opinion. Yeah.
Your work experience has taken you to a lot of places.
Sure.
You worked in higher education.
I have.
As a member of the Calvo cabinet, you focused on IT,
Yes.
healthcare, now the director of Bureau of Statistics and Plans. If you make the transition to being a lawmaker, what will be the important issues that you prioritize?
Well, so most of the issues that I deal with are of a high priority, of course, in the administration, but I'm going to go back to my first love, which is education. And so I'd like to prioritize looking at our educational system. But then I became extremely sensitized, Phil, just digging deep in the issues facing the hospital. And it's not a hospital issue at all for me that I want to address. I mean, that's being handled now. But I'm talking about affordable health care for the underinsured and the uninsured. I'm talking about health care coverage for single moms and children maybe 6 and below. And actually, even more important and selfish on my part is looking out for the manamko, because I have 2 elderly parents. And I want them to have the ability to go get the kind of medical care they want at an affordable rate. And right now, there are opportunities, but I think we need to approach it in a much more systematic and managed healthcare perspective from a holistic perspective and not from a focused perspective on the hospital or public health or behavioral health. I think we really need to take stock, and there's a lot more we can do to help the hospital and help education. So those would be the 2 prime pillars upon which I would focus my time and energy. But of course, it took the appointment to the Bureau of Statistics and Plans for me to develop a true appreciation for something I took for granted for, 18 years since I've been alive, for the last 40 years. Natural resources. So I'm talking about coastal zones, so our coastal community, corals, and fisheries. There's a lot that we can do, not only to grow the job base here, but that we can do to protect our environment and make Guam that much better and more attractive to outside investment, as an example. Or even from a food security perspective. So education, healthcare, and natural resources. And I never really had a passion for natural resources because I was immersed in it. We're immersed in it every day. But really, it could be quite complex. And so I think we have to take a better look at how we're going to protect those coastal resources, or at least use them to benefit those communities that are right there for the purposes of food security or preserving some traditional fishing practices, as an example.
You mentioned a very laudable goal about healthcare reform, increase access to it, increase coverage for those who are uninsured or underinsured. And I wanted to, and that definitely is, something that I can see a priority and a goal as a lawmaker. When it comes to one of your other priority areas, you mentioned natural resources.
And education, right?
Do you have maybe goals for education or
Yeah.
natural resources that you would like to attain as a lawmaker?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. With respect to education, I had the privilege of working both in the public and private sectors. So my vocation, my formal training is to be a teacher. And so I worked at a private school in Guam, and a very competitive one. And I also taught in middle school, my alma mater at Antlan. And I also taught at the college level in terms of an adult course at the University of Guam, and assisting someone in teaching a technology course at the Northern Marianas College. And so what would I like to do with education? First of all, working with the system and those in charge to improve our educational achievement. I think all too often we settle for what we've got. And I really, because I've taught, I know the potential of students to achieve and do really, really well. And so I think by empowering the system, and I have a few ideas on how I want to do that, that would be a tremendous opportunity. But what I really see, having been a member of the administration, having been in a private education model that had to charge tuition to stay in operation, right? That's just, if you didn't pay the tuition, they couldn't open their doors. It's just that simple. And so what's really interesting, and I think it's an untapped industry, is this concept of, I don't like the term educational tourism, but educational opportunities for persons who live abroad. Guam, for obvious reasons, such as what the military and the federal government acknowledge in terms of our geopolitical placement in this part of the world, is also a prime spot for education between the ages of kindergarten all the way up to 16, which would be college. But the model that I'd like to encourage the education enterprise, both public and private, would be to look at that offshore market to see if we can generate revenues not just for the school systems, but also for the people.
Good midterm and long range goals. Let's maybe move a little quicker for the issues that are ahead of us.
Okay.
So briefly, the minimum wage increase, are you for or against it?
I'm for paying people what they deserve. Now, I am for an incremental increase in the minimum wage, but not a radical, drastic change in compensation just because. I was a waiter, okay? I worked throughout my college career. I was what they call a line handler, one of those guys out there that stood on the pier as the larger ship was coming, and they throw this ball and it was attached to a little line, and you got to pull it, and there's like 8 of us. It was a big ship. You had a big, that ball and that little line was tied to a huge rope, okay? And so they paid me a decent wage for that kind of work, but I always understood and accepted the fact that if I wanted to get paid more, I'd have to do more with my time and acquire a skill set or a credential or 2 or 3. There was a time also when I owned my own business, okay, my own e-commerce business. And I even went before the the Rotary, and I said, at that time, I would not have paid myself $10 an hour to fold t-shirts and put them in a box. Now, I'm not discounting the value of the individual more than I am trying to make a point that everybody should be compensated for what they're worth. And I'd like to even challenge my colleagues in the legislature, if I'm given the privilege to serve, that you take the difference between that initial increase and put it in an educational pool where these individuals who want a wage increase can actually go to school and get a certificate using those monies. But I just don't I think you're going to put a tremendous burden on the back of small business owners if you completely artificially lift the bottom line. I don't see that as a solution.
Final question. I'm sure you're going to be answering it a lot. 30-second stump speech time. We have limited votes for who we're going to choose to be in the legislature. Why should one of those votes go to you?
Well, 3 things. 1, I'm vested. I've been here all my life. I bring, I think, a unique skill set, an array of experiences in education. I went to the University of Guam right here. I also had the privilege of going off island to other good schools. I worked in the public and private sectors. And so, when you have that opportunity to serve in the legislature, I would certainly hope that these individuals, such as myself, can bring something to the table. So I've been pretty progressive. I have a record of achievement in the Calvo administration in terms of technology and other transformative initiatives. And so I have a record to put on the table and say, this is what I've done, and this is what I hope to continue to do for the people of Guam.
Okay. Well, before the pizza gets cold, we're going to cut out of here. And thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Coffee with the Candidates. Make sure you stay tuned to the stations of the Sorensen Media Group to hear from even more of the people seeking office for this election.